Hello everyone, Rorius here. Today we're playing Half-Life 2, Episode 1, the developer commentary. So, straight off the bat, without much warning, we've got some Zombine right here. Yeah, we'll just leave them to it. They'll do their thing. Oh god.
You get a better shot if you knock them over, Gordon.
Yeah. So actually that's something that's been added as well, is that Alex beckons you to knock over the Antlians instead of just trying to kill them. So when you knock them over, they become sort of vulnerable to her. Well, she targets them, I guess. Makes them take a little bit more extra damage, I think. So if I'm not mistaken, there's a bunch of cars that you have to find, locate, whatever, bring down here, and then put them over the nests. So that's typically what I do. I focus on that first. Both those Zombine are dead. Fighting sounds. I always find it interesting, even when you have it just on dialogue only, I guess because Alex herself is making fighting sounds, it comes up with fighting sounds. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, I'm just going to stand over here and hope that the car noises aren't going to be too intrusive. And we'll listen to these nodes.
This 3-level parking garage is where the antlion burrow training pays off. Because we've taught the player the burrow blocking mechanic earlier in a less hectic environment, the problem here becomes not what to do with the burrows, but where to find the cars to block them while fighting off a horde of antlions.
Yeah.
The burrows themselves went through several iterations. At first, playtesters had a hard time seeing them, and once they'd push the car onto one, they often weren't sure if the hole was actually sealed. We eventually solved both of these problems by adding a particle effect to the burrows. This effect makes them recognizable even at a distance, and its absence is a clear indication that the burrow is blocked.
What's interesting is that I never noticed that particle effect until I heard the developer commentary. I actually don't think that their final solution is very effective. I remember when I used to play it, before I read the developer commentary, I used to not know what the hell. Like, I used to think that they weren't covered properly. I used to think you had to get them like that, where you had to completely fill the burrow. I didn't think you could just do it like this, where you just had one side of the car in. And so I used to have all sorts of problems, like trying to put them in, because I thought when I'd get them to this phase, I thought they weren't completely covered yet, so I'd try and push them more in, and then usually the car would just flip over to the other side, and then that more antlions would come out, and I'd feel like it was justified that yes, they haven't been covered over yet. I don't know. I was weird. But since I read the developer commentary, or listened to it I should say, suddenly the looking out for the particle effect is something I would actually try and do. And so once I knew about the particle effect, it was very effective, but it didn't immediately dawn on me that that's how it worked.
We generally design and prototype the basic gameplay in a level before we apply much art to it. Throughout the first several months of playtesting this garage map, the geometry was nothing more than basic shapes and textures. After we finalized most of the gameplay elements, we began to flesh out the visuals for the area. For this level, we left the office and took reference pictures of various garages. From these shots, we pulled out everything we liked and that we thought we could pull off well. We combined these visual highlights into what we call a style guide map, which is a standalone map with no gameplay that we use strictly as visual reference. For this level, we actually made 2 style guides, one a destroyed garage, the other intact. After the look was established, we brought the playable map's visual quality up to the level of the style guides. Often a map's geometry needs to be changed as the art goes in because areas that worked in the abstract version no longer make sense in a map that now looks like a real place.
Yeah.
For instance, the side rooms where 2 of the cars are hidden were moved several times in order to make them feel more naturally part of the parking garage.
Yeah, so lining things up. In an abstract, non-real environment, you can put anything anywhere. But when it comes to making it look like an actual garage, there are more sort of naturally positioned locations. Like, definitely this kind of area would probably have had to have been shifted very slightly to make it more centralized. And maybe, things like, oh no, this is just aesthetic, so it's probably not a problem. But yeah, maybe the bridges, like coming up here, it makes more sense if they were part of the framework instead of just sort of overhanging random bits. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what they, you know, needed to move and what they didn't, but those are just my sort of thoughts on it, I guess. Yeah, and you put this in the same position as the one below, so that it's symmetrical and is logical, I guess. I think those are the only 2 nodes in this area, but I could be mistaken. I'll just check over here really quick. Oh. I don't think there's one down there, but I'll make sure that I don't miss any. Yeah, I used to always try and do this while Alex was protecting me. It never ended very well, but... Back on the PlayStation, before I knew anything about Half-Life 2, I used to try and, you know, trick the system. I used to try and not cover the burrows, because I didn't initially realize or fully understand how you covered them.
You're lucky you got that hazard suit. This room is nasty. That room for
That sounds like a... It's not just a... Like a... Oh, I need to protect myself. You got room for 2 in there. Terrible. She attaches herself to someone who doesn't talk. I've always found that a little strange. How can you make emotional connection with someone if you never talk to them? Okay. Don't go anywhere.
be a way to the surface.
Okay, just stay put.
Episode 1 is our first project to use HDR lighting heavily in dark indoor environments.
Yeah.
The interaction between the flashlight and the auto exposure calculations done for HDR presented a real technical challenge. In dark areas where the flashlight was the only source of illumination, we found that we'd often end up with grossly overexposed views. We ended up compensating for this by using a different set of exposure parameters when the flashlight was turned on. In particular, we drastically shrunk the region of the screen examined for exposure calculations, which permitted us to concentrate only on the much smaller area lit by the flashlight.
Right. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Limit it to a cone in front of the player.
I don't believe it. An actual elevator. I would have settled for stairs.
Oh, whoops. No, I did... Yeah. Hopefully subtitles are active now.
You've got to be kidding. I've worked with electricity a time or two, and I'm pretty sure the sparking wire must be connected to a power supply.
Right. Well, this is part of the game that I absolutely loathe. The burrows from before, I despise them purely because of what used to be. You know, what used to be the case. That I didn't fully understand the covering techniques. But this section, I just hated because of... It's the false barrier thing. It's the whole false barrier thing. But, let's have a listen to these nodes first. Before zombies... Oh, there's a zombie here already up. There's already a here. Already a zombie here. Please no more zombies for a little bit. Oh my god. I want to listen to the nodes.
This area is the dramatic culmination of all the lightless combat that comes before it. We wanted to create a dynamic fight that lasted several minutes while we waited for the elevator to arrive. The first iteration of this battle was very different from what we eventually shipped. The space was larger, had water in it, and wasn't completely dark. Water is relatively expensive performance-wise, so we cut that in favor of more zombies. We made the level smaller to ensure that the player would see the elevator and recognize the problem that needed to be solved before the fight started. We killed the lights both to enhance tension and to make the scene a final test of the dark fighting skills that the player develops over the course of the episode. Finally, we added a wire running along the ceiling from the elevator to the power box to give players a guide as they familiarize themselves with the area.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so they made it more and more like what it is now, and I hate this. Not because it's badly designed, I just don't like this
In early
area.
versions of the episode, Alex was much more vocal about giving the player hints. However, playtest showed it was much more satisfying for the players when Alex stated a goal and then stepped aside until that goal was accomplished.
Yeah.
Because of that feedback, almost all of Alex's hint lines were cut. Eventually, though, we discovered through more playtesting that although players didn't like having Alex hand them unsolicited hints, they did want to be able to explicitly request help from her. So we added some of the hint dialogue back in, but it's only accessible at the player's request by Plus using Alex.
Right.
Unfortunately, we learned these hint lessons late in the development cycle and didn't have time to properly train players for this feature. We plan to integrate the hint-on-demand dialogue more thoroughly in future episodes.
Right, okay. Interesting, because I never tried doing that, because yeah, it's not a thing that they said you can do. I never knew that you could just...
That wire is sparking. It must lead to the fuse box.
Anyway.
Our art and gameplay standards encourage players to build a visual dictionary that defines how they expect things to work in the Half-Life world. For instance, even though the door to the power box room is metal, and would probably have a metal crossbar holding it shut, we barred it with a wooden plank. Because we've been consistent throughout the game, the player should recognize that a wooden plank can be both broken and manipulated with a gravity gun.
Yeah.
Properties that wouldn't be immediately apparent about a metal bar.
Oh god! Jesus Christ! Oh my god, I knew about the zombie right in front of me, but I was not expecting one to... My flashlight was so low battery, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna turn it off for a brief second while I... Okay, maybe when I turn the flashlight off, they frickin' pop out of nowhere. Yeah, you kill that. I'm gonna go over to the thing we're supposed to be going to, and... Oh god. Excuse me, Alex. Yeah, I'm gonna go in a second. I shouldn't be using my shotgun for that. Going to go over to the... Oh, it's this bit that he was just talking about. Yeah, you can pull this off and move it around. Or just straight up. Oh god. Ah! Ah! Oh, here it is right here. Okay, okay. Before we do anything more...
We're really happy with the Zombine's grenade behavior. It adds sudden danger spikes to the zombie horde, which force players to quickly reprioritize the targets. And since the player can grab a grenade out of the Zombine's hand with a gravity gun, these danger spikes can be converted into offensive opportunities.
Really gotta talk to
This kind of turnaround skill shot creates some dynamic, satisfying hero moments for the player. Originally, we didn't allow the player to snatch Zombine grenades because we fairly broke the fiction of the gravity gun. If players could grab a Zombine grenade, why couldn't they grab the Combine Soldier's guns? After playtesting the grenade steal though, fun won out over consistency.
Right, okay. So yeah, they nearly didn't have the whole grabbing the things out of his hand with the gravity gun. That's really interesting. Yeah, fun won out over logic. That's totally fair. I never really... It's funny, because I never really thought of it like that. I never really realized that was the case. Now, let's... How do I get this again? It's definitely going through here. But then it's going... Oh, there it is. I didn't see it. Oh.
Hey, I hear the elevator
There we go.
moving again.
Cool. Now is the bit that I hate. It's just the freaking fast zombies, man.
Here comes trouble.
Yeah, Alex, during that,
Shine your light on that thing.
should really put the subtitles back on. Nope, nothing down there. Alrighty. Now, Alex made a comment before about your flashlight, which is an interesting thing to note because it's a reference to something that they probably intended to do something with in this game, but they just never got round to it, so it stayed the same. And that is that in episode 2 they separated the flashlight power away from sprinting and O2 and stuff like that, and made it just part of its own. It had its own.
Taking so long.
It just had its own. Okay, wait a second. Yeah, they took the power away from just a generic power, and they put it more into. Thank you. When things are on fire, I don't have to use my flashlight as much. Oopsies. Wow, do I literally just have pistol shots left? Yep. Okay, here we go. That really wasn't that bad. Okay, well. Yeah, on easy, that's fine. On PlayStation, that was awful. Yeah, they separated the flashlight out away from the main aux power because it sucks trying to sprint and use your flashlight.
I hope it's still light out.
But yeah, in episode 2 they separated it out. Like, there's no scene in which you would suddenly have changed your flashlight power, but out of the blue, between episode 1 and episode 2, even though there's no real gap, pardon me, you just suddenly have a separate flashlight.
Thank God, it's still day. Let's get out of here. Oh God, no. No, it's locked. I can't believe this.
Get so close to the surface and then it's locked.
Hello? Can you let us out of here? Hello?
No one's there, Alex. No one's going to save us.
I guess. Can you see any way to get this open?
Yeah. So there's an example of a good hint, I guess, and not as opposed to a bad hint, where she just asks you to do something. It's like, is there any way to get this open? And then she lets you to explore.
That's it. See if the crank still works.
See, it's an example of if anyone, shush, Alex. In Ratchet and Clank.
The train yard before the Citadel blows.
In one of the previous episodes of Ratchet and Clank, I think the last one that's released on YouTube, there's a scene where you're saving Skid McMarks.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Strider's really tore the hell out of this place.
Yeah. Kleiner isn't going to stop talking, so it's going to be difficult in listening to this.
Happier to see Dr. Kleiner.
Yeah. Nevertheless,
This City 17 Vista is an explicit visual reward for surviving the elevator battle.
yeah.
Since early playtesters told us that we weren't communicating just how damaged the city was, this sweeping view of an extremely messed up City 17 serves a
Yeah.
practical purpose, as well as being a nice moment of calm between storms. The framing of your first view of the Citadel in this Vista space is very deliberate.
Yeah.
We
Look at
include
that
various
framing.
leading elements, such as wires and light poles, that all drive the player's eye to the Citadel.
All leads to the center of the screen where the Citadel is being destroyed, and then you step out and the first thing you see is just destruction. That's about it. Not much of the buildings in this area are still available.
One thing we try to do when we're integrating storytelling and gameplay, something that's become a hallmark
down the
of
stairs.
ours, is to include non-linear bits of narrative. Things that action-oriented players don't have to sit through, but that are available to players who want to learn more about the background of the story.
It's a great
Kleiner's
idea.
broadcasts on the public address monitors are a good example of this method. Apart from the strong visual image of Dr. Kleiner replacing his former boss on the giant screens,
Yeah.
his speech conveys a lot of dense information about the state of the world and how things have changed due to the events of Half-Life 2. We settled on this particular location for the Kleiner cast as one of the few logical places where players can watch in peace or move on to the next encounter.
Yeah.
It's essentially a footnote embedded in the world, which makes this a footnote on a footnote.
Yeah. Clever. Okay. I think that was that one over there, wasn't it? It was. Okay, so now this should be number 3, hopefully. As long as you stay quiet.
Later in the level, there's a combine gunner protected behind some metal plates, just like the ones blocking the player's way here. We placed them here as a training tool to remind players that the gravity gun can grab and detach these things.
Yeah. No, perfect. It's great to always remind players of mechanics. Because, especially if you intend to use them in a sort of an important way. Oops. You bastards.
Looking for something.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's what you've got in your pocket, Alex. Wait, stay right there.
Repelling soldiers presented a difficult training problem, because we found it's tough to focus the player's attention upward.
Yeah.
This entire alley was carefully designed to ensure that the player would see the descending soldiers. First, we framed the soldiers with a straight line of buildings. Then we had them run across the rooftops so they were starkly silhouetted against the sky before they dropped down in front of the lightly colored buildings. Finally, we added a distinctive sound to the repelling action so that the players would recognize it later in the game.
Interestingly, though, I remember I still didn't notice that they were repelling until after they started repelling. I think because there's stuff, I feel like it looks like there could be stuff around here. I always run along, but I look down at these corners like this. That was, I think, their only mistake with this scene, is making the player think that there could be items that aren't there.
Get a bit farther before they notice us again.
Nope. No matter where I go, the Gordon Freeman is always followed. By everyone. This just happens to get out of your way. For no apparent reason. It just seemingly hangs there for no particular reason. Well, I have this now. Right, gravity gun. Straight away. Nope, that's the wrong car. Eh. Yes, yes. Getting on it. Where is it? Okay. Oh, see, some more repelling guys. Oh god, it's too strong. I need a weaker shot. It is quite a unique sound, to be fair. That repelling. You definitely notice it. I definitely can tell that someone's doing it, or, you know, there is a repelling thing. But, I always miss the actual beginning of the repel, because they, I don't know, I just don't see it. I just don't notice it. Okay, well, let's listen to these. Let's go over here and listen to them. Turn that off. And then this
Character AI is all about putting on a good show. As we neared the end of production, we were still unhappy with the way that Alex handled herself in combat. The most common thing she did was run backwards while shooting at the enemies. It was fairly realistic, but kind of boring. So we added crouching and aiming at the last minute. And though it didn't really change her combat effectiveness in any functional way, it made her a whole lot more fun to watch. And this is a really good example of how these relatively minor presentation and behavior changes can often have a really major impact on entertainment value.
Interesting, because I almost never watch her actually fight.
The post-Half-Life 2 look of City 17 was difficult to nail down, and we went through many changes. We
I like
wanted
the
to
ash
establish several
falling from the
things,
sky.
primarily that this was a different part of the same city with a slightly different atmosphere, and that it had been severely damaged. This street was a test bed for a lot of our visual design work. First, we built an intact city street, then we beat up certain buildings. In some cases, removing them entirely so that more destruction was visible in the distance.
Right,
We did an
yeah.
initial lighting pass in the game engine and then took screenshots of various locations. Using Photoshop, we manipulated those screenshots to establish a color scheme. Photoshop lets us quickly iterate through all kinds of skies, lighting styles, and color schemes.
Yeah.
The environmental lighting colors that we ended up with were based on some photo references of the sun filtering through smoke from a forest fire. Some falling ash effects and a
Right.
closer than usual fog plane helped sell the effect.
Yeah, yeah. I actually like this scene a lot. I like the visual style of this particular street. See, despite hating the indoor alien section, I quite like this outdoor alien section. I like this part of the game. I feel like there's a lot of visual storytelling going on. Yeah. I think that was all the nodes. I don't think there was any other ones. For some reason that citizen, that rebel, wouldn't follow me. Ah. They set off the bombs. Not gonna say anything? Okay.
Trip mine traps are great, but they were sort of hard to justify given the total chaos of City 17. Even though we couldn't use trip mines a lot, they made sense in this interrupted ambush scene.
Yeah, yeah. I believe Alex says something about...
I'll cover the street while you figure this out.
Yeah. Damn, I just missed out at putting the subtitles on for that. Oh. Yay, one single shotgun shell. Yay. Oh, I still don't have the crowbar. I forget that you don't get it for ages in this scene. God damn it. This is an interesting as physics puzzle. This is one of the strangest physics puzzles. Because instead of weighing something down or, you know, the usual, instead of the usual stuff, the aim of this one is to just block the pipes from being able to move downwards. It's essentially jamming something in the way so the physics can't act the way it wants to. Yeah. Turn off the fire.
Nicely done. Let's head upstairs.
I'll get my shotgun out with my one bullet. Or one shell, I should say. I triggered that. That makes me happy. Ow. I like how those attack the zombies as well. I like that they don't just attack me. I hate it in games when NPCs of clearly different factions or different groups attack the player instead of attacking things they should be attacking, you know? Oh, whoopsies. I was about to comment how I felt like there was an invisible wall there. But, let's listen to this.
This explosion permanently seals the cafe door, which has a few benefits.
Right,
From a design
yeah.
perspective, we found that when we limit the amount of backtracking players can do, it gives them confidence to venture forward.
Yeah,
And from
yeah.
a practical standpoint, we can clean up the now unreachable entities, giving us a big reduction in overhead.
Yeah.
It also helps to minimize potential bugs and exploits.
Basically, it reduces the amount that the player can get themselves stuck. It reduces the backtracking. It reduces the total number of entities on, you know, in the RAM. Basically, you can just cull the rest of the whole map if they want to. Oh. Kill it, Alex. Thank you. Where is it? There it is. Come down here, Alex. I will do all
Bring
this.
that over here and I'll rejigger it.
Oh, I should turn that back on. Ow.
Gordon, hold up a second.
There we are.
We can't get through here while that sniper's covered in the street.
I believe what you do is you do something along the lines of this. You kill the guy who's low down with those roller mines, and then you've just got the sniper to deal with. So, while I'm here,
Originally, the player didn't get any weapons until the end of this map, so roller mines were the only way to kill the soldiers. As we added more content to previous levels, it became impractical for players to be without a gun for so long. As a result, players get weapons much earlier now.
yeah.
We're pinned
So
down. We need some way to take out those gunners.
yes. Well, taking down the main gunner. Ooh. Alex. Okay, come here. There we go. Distract them as well. Distract the sniper with the roller mines. Oh, oh god.
Blood loss detected.
Come on, shoot the roller mine. Okay, there we go. Oh god, why did it not sprint? I hit sprint, but then I was like, moving along real slow. Wait, can you launch these guys into the window that he's in? Oh, you can. Oh shit, I didn't even realize. I'd forgotten. I'd forgotten that was a thing you could do. And then they all become red all at once. Killing any idea that they actually have a time limit.
Nice toss, Gordon. That sniper almost took my head off.
Could have sworn there was a grenade, one of these grenades. Probably
Let me climb
was,
up
but
and take a look at what we're walking into.
Yeah, this is a cool little scene, but there's some interesting things you can do with this. That desync video made some fun of these kind of scenes. Because this is the first of the...
They've got the street fortified up ahead. You run point, okay? I'll cover you from up here till you reach the far end. When the coast is clear, I'll catch up. Okay, looks like I can get that ladder down to you. Let me shoot out the latch.
This is the part where they replace
I might be a little rusty with this rifle.
Alex with the rifle. With a gunner.
Guess I'm not.
So, one second, I'm just going to quickly see if you can do this. I'm pretty sure that the version that Desync was using had like modified AI. Yeah. So it doesn't actually work in this version. Unless it's only episode 2 where that happens. There's a scene in episode 2 where Alex is using a sniper. And you can, at least he was intentionally killing Alex with a grenade, with the rocket launcher. Maybe you're not supposed to have the rocket launcher at that point in that game, so normally there's no way you could possibly kill Alex. Unless, no, wait, he used the rocket launcher at one point, but he also used the grenade tossed with a gravity gun. Clever. Oopsies. I keep forgetting I don't have the crowbar. Anyway, let's listen to this.
One of the primary design goals of Episode 1 was to convey the sense that Alex and the player are a team. This sniper sequence provides an opportunity for Alex to offer combat support in a cool new way. It also gives the player a chance to watch zombies get sniped up close and from various angles.
Yeah. Good, good. Let's keep moving. Oh. Gravity gun all the way. Yeah, this whole game you can use the gravity gun, so theoretically I shouldn't have to shoot anything. I should always be able to gravity gun my way through. Yeah. I don't remember if I finished mentioning it, but oh my god, I immediately forgot what I was going to say there. I was talking about something way earlier that I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. God damn it. Yeah, this is cool. I like this a lot. Okay, let's listen to this.
Players didn't have any weapons in the original version of this map. That made it a lot more important to remove the boards with the gravity gun so that Alex could snipe the zombies.
Yeah.
Once weapons were added though, the sky bridge became less of a puzzle and more of a straightforward combat event. We added more zombies to increase the challenge, but pulling the boards off is still the most fun way to get through this section.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like making it a little bit more challenging and getting Alex to be involved, you know, allowing Alex to be involved and make it more challenging so that there's more incentive to get Alex involved is definitely the best way to go about this. Damn it. He still hit me even though God dang it. I really tried. I really tried. But I failed. Yeah. So. We are reaching the end of... Oh, this is Combine. Combine guy. I'll leave him to kill that. There we go. I covered the burrow, and now I can remove this. I love that. I love that a lot. Yeah, so I think that was all the nodes, wasn't it? It was all 11 nodes. So the rest of this map doesn't have any more nodes. So what I'll do is I will play to the end of this map. Play to the end of this map. And then I think we'll call the episode there, just because I've been recording for quite some time now. I like how, because she's just a sniper, just one of the enemy sniper guy thingies, she automatically does the leading shots as well. I believe Alex slowly makes her way across, somehow getting through that door really fast. I feel like there should be more moments like this where you cover Alex as she gets back to you, or... Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there should be a few more moments like that. I feel like she covers us a lot of the time. We should have more opportunities to cover her. Yeah. Well done. So this is her crouching and shooting.
Glad that's over.
Oh dear.
Oh god. Looks like the reactor's back on track for a meltdown.
Yeah.
That transmission's going out after all. Oh! I'd like to find another way around these buildings, but we really don't have time. Okay, let's get in. Come on.
So, once again, we've got a U-bend level load. Cool. Alrighty, well. We shall hold it right there. I don't remember what's through this room on the other side of this door, but we will find out next time. So, yeah, I'm enjoying the series. I'm actually, like, I often find, even though I do like the Citadel stuff at the start, I find that the start of this episode, like, drags on a little bit, or I feel like it takes too long to get back into the sort of more classic Half-Life 2 stuff, which is why they did things like they added the weapons back in, and they did things like they made efforts to get you back into the groove of, like, Half-Life 2 style gameplay. But I still feel like it sort of lingers a lot. It doesn't feel as satisfying movement. You know, it doesn't feel like you're making a satisfying progress in Episode 1. I think just generally in Episode 1, it feels a bit like that. Episode 2 feels a little bit better, because you're making larger movements, you're making a lot more ground, but there are a few scenes where it feels like you have to do a whole lot of stuff just to then go back to where you were before, and then you continue the whole healing Alex thing, although that's a satisfying story element and plot-wise. Because the ultimate goal is to get to White Forest, it feels like you're given the task of getting to White Forest right at the beginning. And then that is the overarching, thing you need to do. There isn't a whole lot in the middle other than saving Alex, and that's like a big loop where you have to return to Alex. So the movement doesn't feel as satisfying as in Half-Life 2. I think Half-Life 2's movement felt the most satisfying because there were definite things you went to go achieve. Even though there was still a loop, there was still the whole getting Eli and then returning back to Kleiner's lab. That was still like one huge loop. Basically the whole game is in that loop. It felt like you were going out of your way. Now you get to Kleiner's lab because that was where you were intending to go, but then it sort of becomes more, it snowballs and it becomes more, because that was the original goal. I think that's the difference, is that in Half-Life 2, to start with, firstly it's like escape the immediate Combine clutches, and then secondary goal, escaping the clutches was like the goal for getting to Kleiner's lab was your first goal. You wanted to get to Kleiner, escape the Combine clutches, the real tight grasp on the city. Secondary goal, getting to Eli's lab. So there was a whole second part of the game. The aim of the game was to get to Eli's lab. And then once you were at Eli's lab, it got attacked and Eli got captured. So then the immediate goal was to save Eli. And at the end of saving Eli, you go back to Kleiner's lab, not because that was the intention or anything, it was just that was a good place to teleport, because it was one of their few bases they still had. And then from that point, it's kind of like, well, now there's a full rebellion, we're going to take down... I think it was you're still saving Eli, aren't you? You're still chasing after Eli. But now he's at the Citadel. And so I feel like that's the difference. It's like your goal is to... You've got immediate goals, and then there's sort of a bit more overarching goals as well. This has one sort of goal, and then there's mini goals to achieve that goal, so it feels more tedious. I don't know, that's just the way I feel about it, I guess. That's just the way I feel. Not all games have that problem, even though they have overarching goals. Like, I was thinking about the Abe games, because Abe's Exodus, the Abe's Oddworld series are like my favorite series. There we go. I have a Oddworld Inhabitants mousepad. It's one of my only things on my desk that's like themed after any game, because it's one of my favorite series. It has like a main, or Abe's Exodus has like a main goal, but because the main goal is split into 5 smaller goals, like there's still 5 like major goals, But yeah, because it's kind of like you've got you've got one sort of aim, but the aim itself, the overarching goal, is 5 separate goals. It feels better. It feels more satisfying. Like you're making progress. You knock each one down as you go. That's often why I think Half-Life 2's beta version, the old version of Half-Life 2, felt more satisfying sounding. Because the aim of the game was to go to this facility and destroy it, go to this facility and destroy it, go to this place and save someone, go to this place and, you were knocking them down as you went, sort of thing. That sounds the most satisfying of all the stories, other than Half-Life 1's sort of more mysterious escape story, I guess. I don't know. Half-Life 1's good too. I think beta Half-Life 2 sounds the best to me though, of all the games. Anyway, enough rambling. I've rambled for like good 5 minutes now. If you like what you saw, hit like. If you want to see more from me, then subscribe. I always do that. I always just ramble and I start talking about nonsense. Thank you so much for watching, and as always...